My sister recently got married and the idea crossed my mind. In what circumstances would it be worth having a prenup? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Reece, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about prenuptial agreements and some of the more important things you should know about them. Before I even start to make a dent in today's video, I need to mention that there may be many differing factors about prenuptial agreements depending on where you live in the world. And for that reason, I'm going to keep today's video pretty high level and simple in nature, but try to cover the most important points. It's kind of sad to think about how your finances would be dispersed in the event of your marriage ending. However, using Australia as the example, 1 in 3 Australian marriages end in divorce. So the concept of signing a document that protects your wealth doesn't seem too far-fetched or out of touch in this day and age, where a prenup is a legally binding financial agreement which has the purpose of protecting all of those involved, generally two people entering a marriage, by providing a framework of how their finances and wealth will be handled in the event of divorce. And a prenup can cover a wide range of financial topics, such as how property and inheritance might be handled, all the way up to how a personal business might be managed after the marriage officially ends. Now, a prenup can have both positive and negative aspects to them, and both are important to cover when looking at why a couple might go down the path of organizing a prenup before they officially get married. Starting with one of the most common positives, a prenup can protect an individual from losing their assets in the event of divorce. Let's say that I ran a very profitable business that I had built up over the past 20 years, and now I had met a new partner that I was planning to get married to, but I was a little bit worried that my business might be at risk if I do go down that path of getting married and something were to happen in the future. Having a prenup that states that no matter what happens to our relationship, that I would still own 100% of my business would definitely put my mind a hell of a lot more at ease going into that marriage. Another scenario that is fairly common on prenups is for family members or people who are entering a marriage who have a large inheritance on their way from their family. It is a very common thing for the families who are going to be giving that inheritance away to want to keep that inheritance in the family, and this is a good way to safeguard it. This again is where a prenup can protect individuals who have everything to lose when going into something such as a marriage, which is a legally binding agreement between two people, which has some serious financial ramifications should things go wrong. Not to mention that some people can be very malicious and actually go after those fortunes, with that being their intention the entire time. So this again can protect those individuals who might be at risk. On the flip side, this is where prenups can also protect individuals from their partner's sizable debts. Let's say I owe $100 million to creditors and my partner is very wealthy. My partner is someone who comes from wealth, and me marrying them gives me the opportunity to potentially look at paying those debts down if we were to get divorced and I were to obtain some of that wealth. In this scenario, I have no doubt in my mind that it would be in the best interest of my partner to protect their wealth and not make that burden that I have created for myself fall on them, by protecting their assets and keeping them out of greedy creditors' hands. And the last main pro about prenups that I want to cover in this list is that it gives the relationship a clean slate. With this in place, both members would be aware of each other's intentions and expectations moving forward with their relationship, which means they're being transparent with each other, which is a really good thing. So that, in simple terms, are some of the more common pros associated with prenups. Now let's look at some of the cons. Number one would be the fact that someone within this agreement would be taking a huge gamble within this relationship. Let's run a quick hypothetical. Let's bring it back to me being worth $100 million again. Wouldn't it be nice? And let's say my partner doesn't have a hell of a lot to her name. Let's say I fully support her and her lifestyle for 20 years while she raises kids and does everything around the house to keep it neat, tidy, and running smoothly. Then let's say I go ahead and ruin the marriage by deciding that I want a divorce. If the prenup that we had in place from the get-go holds up in court, my partner would be now left out hung and dry with not a lot to move forward with. Even if they did everything right over the course of our relationship, it would be a pretty tough situation to be in. What if that same partner helped me build my wealth even further by providing input to some serious decisions that needed to be made along the way, or even sacrificed along the way to help me build that wealth even further? Again, it would be a pretty tough situation overall to come out with not a lot, even though they helped build that fortune in their own little way. And I know that's a very specific scenario. I just wanted to paint the picture that there definitely can be losers in this agreement. Another thing to consider is the cost of setting one of these up. Prenups can be very expensive, and depending on what's going into the paperwork, you can be charged anywhere into the tens of thousands of dollars to cover all of your bases. The final two cons that I want to cover in today's video regarding this topic kind of tie directly into each other. And the first aspect of this con is bringing it up with a partner. It can be confronting to have this conversation with a partner. It can cause rifts in a relationship from the moment that the topic is raised. It's something to definitely be cautious of before slapping a document in front of them and going, hey, I need you to sign this, or I really want you to sign this because I want to protect myself in the event that our marriage is going to fail. The look, if it's not brought up lightly and discussed in depth, could definitely make it seem as if you didn't believe that your relationship was going to pan out the way they might think it's going to. And part two of this negative aspect of why prenups aren't always the best thing in the world is that just because you spend lots of money setting one up and you sign one on the day before your marriage or well before your marriage and it gets established, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to hold up in court, even though you might have that agreement in place. There are lots of ways that they can be challenged and fought, and depending on how long the agreement has been standing up and the conditions of it and who your lawyer is who puts it together, it's something to just understand. It's never guaranteed that they're going to hold up in the event that they get challenged by an angry ex or angry partner who wants to take you for everything you have. Anyway, this book here is called I Will Teach You to Be Rich, written by an author called Ramit Sethi, and this book is kind of like the American version of The Barefoot Investor. I really enjoyed the read, but moreover, there was a topic within called Prenups where he briefly covers the topic, and I really like the way he portrayed it. Within the chapter, the author expresses the process he went through with his partner to raise the topic with her to get the ball rolling, and how he approached it and when the right time to approach that topic was before they were married. He also provides perspective about who should be getting a prenup, and the conclusion that he came to was that most people don't really need one and aren't ever going to be in the circumstance where they actually do need one. Where the main driver of why a couple would need one is where one member of the couple have a disproportionate number of assets or liabilities relative to the other person in the relationship. Where in his own circumstance, he had built significant wealth over his partner through his own business before he even knew her, and wanted to preserve that in the event of them breaking up, which in my opinion seems fair enough. And I think the text within the book explaining how he brought it up with his partner, why he brought it up with his partner, and how he went about processing and getting it done before they were officially married was really insightful, and something that I myself probably wouldn't have known how to approach had I not read something like this. I definitely would have been able to do my own research, but I think that the book overall was a really good read, and it's a very small portion of the book that really stuck with me many years after I had actually read it. I read this book years ago, and when I thought about making this video and looking a bit more into the topic, I went straight back to this section of the book and went, wow, this really is good information in such a small amount of pages, and it's really concise and to the point. So if you were interested in picking up a copy for yourself, I've left the link down in the description below. I really enjoyed the read, and that's pretty much all I'm going to do in terms of plugging the book. I just thought it was a really good little segment to put into today's video because it was relevant to the topic, and it was something that really added to the content that went into this video, and something just for my own knowledge as well. I suppose to conclude today's video, in most circumstances, you're not going to need a prenup with your partner unless you have a significant amount of property, a significant amount of investment holdings, or you have a very profitable business over your partner before you even meet them or start dating them. It's something that could potentially be avoided going down that path unless one of those criteria or all of those criteria are met before you decide to spend the rest of your life with someone. The catalyst to this point though is that there has been a general upticking trend of divorces since the 1970s globally. It is becoming much more common in the world, and it has been becoming much more common for a really long time now. And this is where, in the event of those circumstances being met, or you being a little bit worried about your wealth and finances and them being taken away, because takes a long time to build wealth and you earn what you earn over the many years of you working hard, a prenup can potentially be something that reduces your stress levels and protects you as an individual from that being taken away from you. That's why I wanted to talk about it in today's video, because it is definitely something to consider, especially if you meet the criteria of it being worth having one. I would just approach the topic lightly with your partner if it was something you were going to consider going down. Maybe read the book. There's a pretty good script in there of how to bring it up with a partner. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope it was insightful. I hope you learned something. I hope maybe I made you think about it a little bit and then potentially just dismissed it. But nonetheless, I'm glad I got to look into this myself, and I hope that it is useful to anyone who's watching this video right now. With that being said, have a good day, have a good week, and as always, as long as you subscribe to the channel, I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.